Remember, we have started discussing about inter-process communication, why it is needed and what are its advantages, how you can perform inter-process communication, the basics we have seen, right? And we have also seen when inter-process communication takes place, a lot of resources, either in the hardware form or the software resources, are being shared by various processes. Now, when processes start sharing the resources, there is a problem of which particular program will be sharing a resource first or will be modifying first. So two or more processes trying to execute same part of the code at the same time, that you call it as critical section, okay, and you're not sure of the output. So this was the problem, and to avoid this we have seen various sorry, to overcome this we have seen the solution of classifying the problem into critical region. Okay, any problem which is to be executed separately, like without any interference of another process, that part you call it as a critical section. Okay, now you have to design codes in which can be written in the entry section, and the codes whichever you write in the entry section, they should be such that they should satisfy the three conditions. Okay, so these are the three conditions: mutual exclusion, progress, and starvation. So that was the problem. Like if you have P1 executing in its critical section, so any other process other than P1 should not be executing in the critical section, that is mutual exclusion. So no two processes may be simultaneously inside the critical region. Next was progress. So if one process, let's say P1, it is in the entry section or exit section. It is in the entry section or exit section, and P2 is also having its own entry and exit section. So any process which is in the entry section or exit section should not block any other process from entering the critical section. So no process running outside critical region, either it may be entry or exit or anywhere else outside critical region, that particular process cannot block any other process to enter into critical section. So that is progress. And third case is bounded wait. Bounded wait, or we can say no starvation. So here, if P1 process has completely exited the critical section, and after that it is again repeatedly going into the critical section without giving opportunity to other processes, okay, so that situation also should not be arised. So your solution to these problems should be satisfying these three criterias. Okay, now there are many solutions that already exist in the literature. If you see, like how to achieve the solution to the critical section problem, that means whatever approaches we have listed here, they will be written in the entry section. Okay, so you design entry section of your program so effectively that when a process is going into critical section from the entry section, no other process can go into its critical section. Okay, so these codes are these five approaches. Okay, of the five approaches, I guess we have discussed one or two approaches, so remaining we'll discuss today. So first approach was the very hard core approach, that was disabling your hardware interrupts. So we have seen what are its merits and disadvantage also. It is not feasible, though it's a approach like proposed, and it is best, like no other process will be interfering in the current critical section process, but it is not suitable for multi-core systems, and interrupts are normally have some privileges, like they have the privileges of kernel only can issue the interrupts, and also you cannot give interrupt disabling the interrupt, the power of disabling the interrupt to the user processes. Okay, next approach that we have seen was lock variables. Okay, so lock variables is nothing but you have two processes P1 and P2. You have one shared variable that you call it as lock. Okay, now when P1 wants to enter its critical section, it will be checking the status of the lock. Okay, so initially lock value is 0. So whenever lock value is 0, that means no process is in its critical section. And whenever the lock is 1, that means some or the other process is in the critical section, right? One or the other process is in the critical section. So when P1 wants to enter into the critical section, it first checks the lock variable. If it is 0, okay, then it enters the critical section and changes the lock value to 1. Okay, it enters the critical section and changes the lock value to 1. Now when it exits the critical section, okay, when it comes into the exit, this is the entry section, this is the exit. So when it exits the critical section, it again changes the lock value to 0. Okay, so that when another process wants to enter into its own critical section, this particular process will be checking the lock value. If lock value is 0, then it can enter into critical section, change the lock value to 1, again execute the remainder section and change the lock value to 0. This is the normal flow. Okay, and by this we understand that critical, I mean the problem is solved, the critical section problem is solved. Like if you want to go into a room, you just check whether someone is there in the room or not. If no one is there, you just get into the room and lock it from inside, right? Now when you want to come out, you just unlock it and come out. Now what is the problem here is when P1 is reading the status of the lock, P1 has initially read the status of lock as L is equal to 0. So in its memory, it is L is equals to 0. Now when it was in the critical section, when it was about to set the lock to 1, there is some interrupt. Okay, let's suppose there is some interrupt when it is entering into the critical section and setting the lock value to 1, there is some interrupt. Now in the meanwhile, P2 process has also read the lock is equal to 0. That means this particular process is also assuming no other process is there in the critical section. Okay, so it goes into the critical section and performs its task. Meanwhile, when you check here, when you come back here, when after the interrupt is serviced, this P1 is also assuming lock is 0 only, because in the context switching, you know, the previous data is saved, and when you resume the process, the data is reloaded, right? So when you are reloading, P1 is still having L is equal to 0. So P1 also assumes critical section is empty. Okay, so when it is assuming, so what happens? P1 also will be trying to enter into its critical section. So both P1 is in the critical section, P2 is also in the critical section. So this condition, you know, it is violating the condition of mutual exclusion. Okay, so this concept, I mean this was one approach to solve this problem, but it is not working as it is violating the condition of mutual exclusion. Okay, so any approach you study, you just think in these terms whether that particular approach is satisfying the three conditions or not: mutual exclusion, progress and bounded wait. Clear? Next solution to the mutual exclusion problem is strict alternation. Okay, strict alternation is just like taking turns. So if it is my turn, I'll go first. If it is another process turn, it will go first. So the turn stores the value of the process which is supposed to go in critical section, right? Let's suppose you have process 0, P0 and P1. P0 means it is turn, when turn is equal to 0 means process 0 should be executing. When turn is equal to 1 means process 1 should be executing. Okay, again understand that all the approaches which we are discussing, mostly they are suitable for two processes only, not more than two processes. Okay, so let's discuss with that perspective only. Okay, so initially turn value is 0, so process 0 while true is, this is the infinite loop in which the code runs. Now if you see while turn not equal to 0, so 0 not equal to 0, that is condition is false, 0 not equal to 0, condition is false. So false है, true है तो कुछ नहीं करना है, देखो loop में ही रहना है. If it is true, the condition is true, then you have to stay in the loop only. So is 0, 0 is not equal to 0, condition is false, so you are going into the critical section. ओके वैसे भी टर्न प्रोसेस 0 का ही एग्जीक्यूट करना था. प्रोसेस 0 इज गोइंग इनटू द क्रिटिकल सेक्शन एंड changing the turn value is equals to 1. Okay, and coming out of that, now when process 1 wants to execute its critical section, so again same logic, instead of 0 here we are comparing it with 1. So 1 not is equals to 1, condition is false, process 1 also can go into the critical section and modify the turn as equal to 0. Okay, so if you see, there is strict alternation between process 0 and process 1. Okay, this is fine for mutual exclusion, that means only one process is there in the critical region, so it is fine up to now. But if you see, initially if turn value is 0 and order of execution is P0 and then P1, then this works totally fine. Okay, but if turn value is 0 and order of execution is P1 and P0, then let's see what happens. Okay, so turn value is 0. Now while turn not is equal to 1, so turn is 0 here, 0 not equal to 1, condition is true. Condition true है तो आपको क्या करना है, loop में ही रहना है. Okay, you cannot do anything. If condition is false, then only you can go to critical section. But here 0 not equals to 1, condition is true, so you are staying in the loop only and you are looping it continuously. You are waiting for the turn to become 1. Okay, if turn value is 0 and process 1 want to execute first, that is not possible. Okay, and same here, this initializing turn is equal to 0 was one example only. If you take a reverse case, let's initialize it with 1, and if you are executing P1 and P0, it will be working fine. But if you take turn to be 1 and try to execute P0 and P1, then this is not possible. Okay, so a process which is not in its critical region, if you see this example, P0 is not in its critical region, still P0 is stopping P1 process to complete its execution or to go into the critical region. So this is the problem with progress. Okay, your code is not allowing to progress the execution of other processes. Okay, is this point clear, everyone? Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, right. Next is, now let's say this process keep on checking whether the value is of turn is 1 or not. They keep on checking continuously. Okay, so this process of continuously testing a variable until the desired value appears, that particular condition you call it as busy waiting. Okay, so any here in this example, P1 is continuously checking the turn variable, okay, whether it comes to be 1 or not. So that particular condition you call it as busy waiting. Okay, now when a process is busy waiting, a lot of CPU cycles are wasted in checking this value, comparing these values, and also a lot of CPU cycles are wasted. So you're not utilizing your CPU properly. Okay, so this should be avoided. And because of that, a kind of lock, a kind of deadlock occurs, that you call it as spin lock. So either in this example, if you see, P1 cannot complete its execution and P0 is scheduled after execution of P1. So P1 start complete होगा नहीं तो P0 start नहीं होगा, और P0 का turn है but P0 cannot execute because P1 is not completed it. So this kind of lock, that you call it as spin lock. Okay, so this kind of lock that is caused because of busy waiting, that you call it as spin lock. Is it clear, this approach of solving critical section problem? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let's go to next approach, that is Peterson solutions. Okay, so Peterson solution, again it will be best working with two processes. Okay, here in this solution, what they have did is they have taken two variables. So in the one example we have taken lock, another example we have taken turn. Locking is your locking your shared resources, and turn is it's your chance. Okay, so you are using combination of both. That means your resource should be locked as well as it should be your turn. Okay, then only you can use the critical section. Okay, so put it in other ways, your resource should be, the lock should be acquired by you. Like if p0 wants to execute, lock should be acquired by that process only, and the turn should also be of p0. Okay, so the rather than specifying that the turn should be of p0, here it is specified like the turn should not be of other process. Okay, turn should not be of other process and lock should be acquired by you. Only in this particular case this solution will be working. Okay, let's see what are all the various constructs used to solve the problem. Right here you are taking certain constants to define true or false, and I have told you it's best suitable for two processes. So here n is 2, right, and two variables are taken. One is the turn variable, it is the same which determines whose turn it is, either p0 or p1. Next, interested is an array of processes. We have two processes, so interested of 0 and interested of 1. Okay, so if a process wants to enter into its critical section, it will be setting its value to true. Interested of that particular process is equals to true, right? Now this is the code for your entry section, this is the code for your exit section. Okay, so in the entry section, what you are doing, whenever a process calls its entry section, it passes its id. Okay, so let's say p0 is calling the entry section. Okay, so in the enter region, in the entry section you are passing process 0. Process 0 is passed. Okay, now when process 0 is passed, you are calculating the value of other as other is equal to 1 minus this process, so that will be 1. So whenever if the same operation happens in the p1 in the enter region, you will be passing 1, and other value will be 1 minus 1, that is 0. Okay, so please understand that if you are passing value, the current process is 0, other process will be 1. If current process is 1, other process will be 0. Okay. Now, when P0 wants to enter into the critical region, its interest should be true. Okay, the interested array that we have taken, so interested of this process, it should be true. That is the first condition, that that process is willing to execute with critical section, and it should also be its turn, उसका turn भी होना चाहिए. Okay, दोनों चीजें होने चाहिए, its interest as well as turn. The third thing that should be there is its turn, like you should have its turn as well, like turn तो 0 होना ही है, and इसका interest भी true होना है. Okay, इसका interest भी true होना है. Now here the code is twisted a little bit. If you want to write like this, interest is of 0 is true, then you can enter the critical section. Okay, but But instead of writing interest of 0 is equals to true, here what you are writing, if interest of other processes. So other here is in our example 1. If interest of other processes is true, that means you cannot enter into critical section, you will be in the loop. Notice the semicolon after while here. So you will be in the loop, right? It's your turn, but other processes also are interested to go into the critical section. So in that case you cannot do anything, you have to be in the loop itself. Okay, until this condition is false. If this condition is false, then you can go into the critical section. Okay, once you are into the critical section, you execute with the critical section, and after that you go into the exit section. So in the exit section, what you have to do, whatever interested you have made here as true, that you have to set it to false. Okay, so I hope this solution is clear. Same explanation will be there. Instead of process 0, if you are taking process 1, same thing will be happening. So here it will be process 1, other process will become 0, interested 1 is true, turn also will be 1. So turn is equals to 1, and interested of other, if it is true, then P1 cannot execute with critical section, but if this is false, then it can execute with the critical section. Okay, so is this clear? Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now this solution, Peterson solution, satisfies all the conditions that we have for your critical section problem, like mutual exclusion is achieved, no two processes are in the critical section at the same time, then no process is blocking other process, that is also not there, then no process is like making other process to wait to starve for longer amount time of time, that is also not there. Okay, it seems to be a good solution, but again the problem remains here. If the process needs to be continuously checking whether the interested of other processes becomes false or not, so that uh, what do you call that mechanism will always be there, that will be a problem. Okay, so how we can solve this, that also will be discussed in the further slides. Okay, now till here all the four solutions that we have seen, like this lock variable, strict alternation, and Peterson solutions, all the three solutions are software solutions, software based solutions. Okay, that means you are having some code which decides which region will which area, which process is to be executed with the critical section, whereas disabling interrupt is the hardware approach. Okay, and another approach is hardware test and set locks, TSL locks. So this is also same concept of lock only. So in lock variable, what we were doing, we were set checking the lock, that is check the lock, and if no one else is using, then you have to set the lock, right? So what was happening in the previous software approach, some other interrupt of some other process is interrupting in between these two instructions, and in that case the approach was failing. Okay, so here they have a specialized instruction, that is test and set. So it tests the lock and always and sets also. Okay, so it is not waiting for the next instruction to set the lock, it is checking, testing, and as well as setting it there itself. Okay, so these two operations are happening at a single instance or single clock cycle, right? So in that case there will not be much issues of interrupting in between or mutual exclusion ka jo problem tha, that can be solved. Okay, and these are hardware like approach. Why we say it's a hardware approach, because you have your instruction, when TSL instruction is executed, the memory bus is locked. So once the memory bus is locked, no other processes can access your memory until the current instruction is completed to its execute completion, right? Okay, So, and leave is the exit section. So you just put 0 and that's it, and you get the exit from the critical section, right? So this is one approach that is implemented using the hardware. Another approach that is also implemented with the hardware approach is using the exchange instruction, and Intel 8 x86 series of processors use this one. This is also same concept. Instead of TSL, here exchange instruction is used. Okay. Now, in all the cases, all the examples that we have seen, or all the approaches we have seen, always your one process is checking for other process, or one process is checking for some shared variables to check if the lock is acquired or not, if it is my turn or not. Okay, so they are quite spending their quite a large amount of time in busy waiting. Okay, and we discussed busy waiting results in wastage of CPU cycles. Okay, and which in turn reduces your CPU utilization. Okay, so to overcome this, we have this problem of sleep. We have this solution of sleep and wake up calls that also we'll be discussing. Now again, there is one more problem that is to be discussed here, is priority inversion problem. Okay, so what is this priority inversion problem? Let's consider two processes. H is one process which is having high priority, and L is a process which is having the low priority. Okay, so obviously H process will be executing first when you consider your Gantt chart. So H process will be executing first. Okay, now let's say after certain execution or time with the processor, H is a process which require IO operation. Okay, so it wants to have some IO operation run. So CPU schedules it to run some IO operation, right? Meanwhile, your CPU is idle. Okay, so L process can be scheduled for execution. Okay, L process you are scheduling. Now when you are scheduling L process for execution, L is executing in its critical section. Okay, now we all know when a process is in its critical section, we are not allowing any other process to have in its critical section. Okay, it should run to completion, the critical section to be executed completely, right? Now meanwhile, when L process is executing its critical section, okay, H process has finished its IO operation. Okay, and H wants to execute with the processor, but that cannot be granted because right now L is in its critical section, so you cannot grant H process with the CPU. Okay, so here H process has to wait. Now, when H process has to wait, ideally it's a high priority process, but here the priority was shifted to, sorry, here the L process is executing rather than the H. So we call this kind of scenario, or this kind of problem is called as priority inversion problem. Okay, so H is busy waiting, it's checking whether this L is completed or not. Okay, so this is priority inversion problem. Again, this also can be solved with the help of sleep and wake up system call. Okay, so instead of busy waiting, like a process is continuously checking, instead of that, what you can do, you can put the process to sleep. Okay, so if you have P1 and P2 process, P2 is continuously checking a particular variable, so you can put P2 process to sleep, and whenever you have the resources available, or the shared variable available for P2, then you can just give a wake up call. Okay, you can just give a wake up, and the process P2 can wake up and take its execution further. Okay, let's see with one example how this sleep and wake up can be uh, implemented. Now, to understand how the sleep and wake up are implemented in the next slide, let's see what is this producer consumer problem and how you can use sleep and wake up calls, system calls to solve this producer consumer problem. Okay, or you can call it as a bounded buffer problem also. So some basics regarding this. You have a entity called as producer. Now producer's job is to produce produce data items. Okay, next you have a consumer. Now consumer's job is to consume the data items. So whatever data items produced by the producer are placed in the buffer. Okay, a common shared region that you call it as buffer. Now the producer places the data items produced into this buffer, and the consumer consumes the data items taken from the buffer and consumes it. Okay, now what we need to ensure, whenever producer is producing the data and placing it here, only after that consumer checks the buffer and consumes it. Okay, but before, if the producer is not has not yet placed the data and consumer is checking priorly, then it doesn't find any data item. Okay, but you need to have some sort of communication, that is two processes, inter-process communication. So when one process is placing the data, only after that the other process can consume the data. Okay, so there should be some kind of mechanism for this. So here your buffer is your critical section. Okay, at a time either producer will be accessing the critical section or consumer will access the critical section, if both cannot access at the same time, right? This is the problem. Now there is one condition also. So producer can produce the data item only if buffer is empty. Okay, because if it is producing the data item and if there is no space in this buffer, then producer has no place to put its data item. So producer can put the data item in the buffer only if there is space. Okay, and similarly consumer can consume the data item only if it has the buffer has item in it. So consumer will be checking if buffer is full or not, so that it can take the data and consume it, and producer is waiting for the buffer to be empty. If buffer is empty, then it can put the data item in the buffer, and if the buffer is full, only then the consumer can consume the data item. Okay, are the conditions clear for everyone? This problem we need to solve with the sleep and wake up. Let's suppose we don't have sleep and wake up. You do not know how we are solving with sleep and wake up. So if we use the same Peterson solutions or the strict alternation and all, so what will happen? Either the producer process or the consumer process will be continuously checking the buffer. Okay, consumer will be continuously checking whether it is full or not. Producer will be continuously checking whether it is empty or not. Okay, so they both will be again busy waiting. They both will be in the process of busy waiting. We need to avoid this. Is the problem clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so how you are avoiding this? With the help of sleep and wake up. Now let's see how the solution can be implemented. See, all the code snippets are written in C language only, so it will be quite easy for you to understand. So here we have taken the size of buffer as 100. Okay, and count value is 0. Count is the number of data items present. N is the maximum size. So this is your producer's code and this is your consumer's code. Okay, in short, step by step I'll explain later. Or in short, what you are doing, you have a producer process, consumer process. Producer एक data item produce करता है and then it will be giving a wake up call to the consumer. Consumer will be sleeping here, will be in the sleeping. It gives a wake up call. Now consumer wakes up, takes this data item, consumes it. Okay, when this process is happening, it will go to the sleep. Okay, now when consumer has woken up and had the item, after that it feels that the buffer is empty, so consumer has no work to do. It will give a wake up call to the producer that you just wake up and produce some data item, and meanwhile consumer will be in the sleep state. Okay, so this is the normal procedure. So instead of busy waiting, like rapidly checking whether the buffer is empty or full or not, rapidly checking, what you are doing here, you are using this sleep and wake up construct, right? So first, this will be repeated for infinite times. Now first you have the producer to produce item. So there is no logic for produce underscore item or remove underscore item. There is a consume item. It's just a, what do you call, a construct that it will be producing certain item. Okay, now if it is full, count is equal to n. That means if your buffer is full, count is number of items, n is number of slots. So if your number of items are occupied in the all the slots of the buffer, that means your buffer is full. So in that case, producer cannot insert any item into the buffer, so it will simply go to the sleep state. Okay, otherwise, if this condition is false, then instead of going to sleep state, it will directly insert the item. Okay, so it inserts the item and increment the count value. So as soon as the count value is 1, that means something is there in the buffer for the consumer to consume. So it immediately gives a wake up call to the consumer. So consumer is consuming the data. Okay, data item. Now same, here you have your consumer's logic. So in the consumer's logic, what you are doing, instead of checking count is equal to n, you need to check count is equal to 0 or not. So if it is 0, that means nothing to consume, you can directly go to the sleep state. Okay, but if the condition is false, that means you have something in the buffer, you remove that item, consume it, you decrement the count value, and as soon as the count value is n minus 1, you just inform the producer, you give a wake up call to the producer, he can consume that particular item. Okay, so this is how your sleep and wake up can be used to avoid busy waiting. Am I clear up to here? Any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay, now do you think this is the final? Okay, now you have got the solution per critical section problem solved कर दिया है. Do you feel like that? Yes. एक शेयर्ड रिसोर्स था, दो प्रोसेस को एक्सेस करना था, टेकिंग टर्न्स, दे आर टेकिंग टर्न्स, no one is accessing simultaneously and no one is stopping each other also. There is progress, there is no violation of mutual exclusion, and there is no one is stopping, so there is no bounded waiting also. Okay, so everything is achieved, so that means we can say this is the final solution. Yes. You can see something written here. You can put your thoughts. Hello. Are you all even listening to me? Yes or no? Then I'll understand to proceed or not.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, there is one problem here. If everything executes perfectly in the way the algorithm works, it's okay. But you see, when producer is sending us, what do you call, producing the item and sending a wake up call to the consumer, right? And it is going to sleep here. Okay, and meanwhile, if for any reason, if the wake up call goes missing, then the consumer will be sleeping for continuous amount of time, and here the producer is also sleeping. Okay, so if both are in the sleep state, that means there is no progress and no one will ever be able to complete the code. Like both will be in the infinite loop only. So producer is waiting for consumer to wake him up and consumer is waiting for producer to wake him up. So as if in any case this happens, okay, now why we are assuming that this happens, because both are non-atomic operations. Okay, that means if there is no guarantee that if a sleep call is executed then a wake up should be executed, that is in theory, but there is no guarantee that these two atomic operations are atomic. Okay, atomic in the sense if one happens then it should happen to completion. ऐसा बीच में से नहीं होना चाहिए. If any action is like anything is initiated, that is to be run to its completion. Okay, so here that problem may occur. Okay, if it is lost or it is the consumer is not responding or whatever. Okay, in whatever scenario, so if this is executed then this must be executed. If this is not executing in any case, then both the producer and consumer will go to sleep state for infinite amount of time. Okay, so this is the problem with your sleep and wake up. Okay, otherwise everything works perfectly. We don't have any problem of the critical section issues, race conditions, सब कुछ avoid हो जाएगा, everything will work continuously. But if there is some kind of interrupt before executing the wake up call, और कोई दूसरा process schedule कर दिया है और ये wake up call miss हो गया है, so in any case this can be a problem. Okay, now to avoid this they go with another approach where you have operations as atomic in nature. Okay, that means if it is executing, it is executing to completion, otherwise it is not executing at all. You study atomicity in database, right? एटॉमिसिटी पढ़ते हो ना आप एसिड प्रॉपर्टीज में? यस. हेलो.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so it is the same case. ठीक है, so that is the concept of your semaphores. So semaphores are variables, this kind of variables only, which ensures atomicity in your code. Okay, if something happens, it happens to its completion, otherwise it doesn't happen. Okay, so this is all up to here the today's lecture. In next lecture we will start with semaphores and we will solve the same problem, the producer consumer problem, with the help of semaphores. Okay, and see again that is a perfect solution, or are there any disadvantages to that particular solution. Those things we'll discuss in the next lecture. Okay, so if you have any questions you can ask. Any questions?